Hey there, welcome to CandTCollectibles IMC. Hope you are doing well. Today we're going to look at the second baseman in our Hall of Fame Tracker series for 2024. For the Hall of Fame, we have 20 second basemen in the Hall of Fame. The highest wins above replacement, 130. Most hits, 3315, Eddie Collins. Most home runs, 301, Rogers Hornsby. And 3,000 hit club, we've got Eddie Collins, Nap Lajoie, Craig Biggio, and Rod Carew. So wins above replacement, as we explained in the previous videos, is kind of our starting point here. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as we've got? Yeah, it's pretty darn good here. And we can make a decent comparison over the years as well between players, but we have to keep in mind that the replacement level player has gotten better over the years. And so when we look at players like Nap Lajoie, Eddie Collins, and Rogers Hornsby putting up these monster numbers, it's really not that fair to expect players of today to match those numbers. Again, the replacement level players is much too good, and so even with Joe Morgan, who's sitting around 100 wins above replacement, it's probably an unrealistic standard. So we're gonna knock that down a little bit so we can try and get a couple of guys in the hall here. I'm not a big hall, let everyone in type of thing here, but I'm not small hall. I like to see guys get in here. So if you see the trend line for the old timers here, 70 wins above replacement, roughly 67, 68 wins is kind of your benchmark. And so we're going to dial that back down to just about 60 by just looking at the players from 1980 on. So we'll get into them in just a minute here. Second basemen start to peak around age 23, 24. Keep that going until age 33 and then start to decline a little bit. So if we can get them around that 60 win number by around 35, then there's a couple of garbage years to kind of to pad that just a little bit here. But again, you got to look at the accolades as well. So the average Fangraph WAR for the players inducted by the Baseball Writers Association of America since 1980. We've got 5 of them: Joe Morgan, Rod Carew, he converted, Ryan Sandberg, Roberto Alomar, and Craig Biggio. 72 wins above replacement is the average Fangraphs WAR. 2,700 hits is the average for each of these players. 220 home runs, 5.6 Gold Gloves, 3.4 Silver Sluggers, and almost 10 All-Star games, and maybe close to an MVP. So that's what you're looking for out of the players. Keep that in mind as we go forward just a little bit here. So Ian Kinsler and Dustin Pedroia are going to get their first year on the ballot. We're going to take a look and see what the voters can do here in a couple of months here. So wins above replacement, a little bit light at 47 and 44 respectively. So again, we're looking for something closer to 60, unless you have a ton of hardware. Just under 2,000 hits, weighted runs created. Again, solid bats in their jaws. This is the J. Jaffe weighted system. We take WAR and you take their best 7 years. It doesn't have to be consecutive or anything like that. And then compare it. And I think to where the Hall of Famers are at. And this is, I think, going to be increasingly important as longevity is not what it used to be, and we're going to look more closely at player peaks, and so that's what the JAWS will do. So on average, the best 7 years for a second baseman are 44.5 wins above replacement, and so you can see Kinsler and Pedroia are a little bit light of that one. Chase Utley's his second year on the ballot here. He got almost 30% of the vote last year. He's there in wins above replacement. The JAWS' peak was brilliant. It's better than the average Hall of Famer. Just he do it long enough, and you can see all of them are sub 2,000 hits, and that might be an issue. Since 1960, no player with fewer than 2,000 hits has been voted in with their first 10 years of eligibility. So we'll see how the voters treat that. This could open the floodgates if Utley gets in or starts getting close. I think it'll be a while, if at all. If he gets in, this will be the Scott Rowland type deal where it's maybe the last ballot if he can creep above that. But yeah, again, we'll just kind of look at that trajectory and see if he gets a few more votes every year here. So players we might talk about in a decade here is well on the pace or getting in. You have a lot of these young guys, and they're only here because they're young. They're coming up early. That's part of the deal, but now you have to produce, and none of them have really done that. So we'll see if they can kind of get that going. So Jackson Holliday, Keith, whatever. I got a head cold here. I can't even think straight here. I apologize. Luis Angel Acuna, Marco Luciano, with Brooks Lee, Vaughn Grissom, Matt McClain, Nolan Gorman, Bryce Turing, whatever. There's a whole bunch of guys like this. They're young. They're starting to do a little something in some cases. Otherwise, they haven't done a whole lot here. Jackson Holliday, I think, is pretty interesting. Colt Keith had a good second half of the year. Holliday, plate discipline was pretty good. Didn't swing at a ton of outside pitches. Didn't make great contact when he did, but he did barrel up the ball at a pretty decent clip here. So I think he's just got to make an adjustment to changeups and sliders, and if he's able to do that, we could have a bit of a monster on our hands here. So we'll see how that plays out. As it stands, he's got time to figure it out, and if he can get going, then the sooner the better here. So get into some of the more higher level targets or more interesting targets here. Again, there's a lot of players that had good seasons last year, but wasn't enough, and so we'll just look at some players that have a realistic path here by needing to average roughly 5 wins above replacement or fewer on an annual basis. Again, if you have to average 6 or 7 wins on an annual basis, we know that that's more of a peak than an average. So we'll make a couple exceptions here. Marcus Semien, 33 years old with 36 Fangraph WAR, but 45 Baseball Reference WAR. Needs 7.1 Fangraphs WAR on an annual basis to get to that 60 number by age 35. 1,500 hits, 110 weighted runs created, so a pretty nice bat. We know this. Top 5 MVP, 3 All-Star games, Gold Glove, and a couple of Silver Sluggers. He's aging well. He's really kind of turned it on after a slower start. He's really gotten it going. 2020, we'll see how that's treated in the history books. That was kind of a nothing year, but if you extrapolate and say, oh gosh, he would have been 4 wins here, then add this on, I mean, that would have been a heck of a trajectory here. So his 7-year Jaws is 40, and the average second baseman has produced 44 during their best 7 years. Ketel Marte is kind of in the same deal here. 27 Fangraphs WAR, 31 Baseball Reference WAR. So there's enough of a discrepancy here that we're going to take a look at their Baseball Reference WAR graphs here in a second here. But it needs to average over 6.5 wins above replacement on an annual basis, which is tough. Again, that's a peak year. That's not an average year. So it makes it tough. But he's got 118 weighted runs created, 28 wins above replacement for his Jaws, average second baseman 44. So whatever, monster couple of years up until 2020. Then we started to slide off, and the last couple haven't been that great unless you look at Baseball Reference. They love him. So he's tracking pretty darn well as well as Semien. So it comes down to how well they age and what are the voters going to look at? Are they going to look at Baseball Reference? Are they going to look at Fangraphs? Either way, hardware would really help these guys here. They might be a little bit too late for MVPs, but if they can continue to put up top 5 MVP seasons and Silver Sluggers and things of that nature, then that will, in All-Star games, that will certainly help their case. But the Baseball Reference version sure paints a prettier picture for these two, so I don't want to discount them fully by any stretch. All right, Luis Arraez, 27 years old with 11 Fangraphs WAR, 16 Baseball Reference WAR, so another guy with a discrepancy between the two, but I don't think it matters because that's just not enough. Needs to average over 6 wins above replacement on an annual basis to get to that 60 by 35. A terrific bat, but it's kind of empty. He's not putting up a ton of home runs or a lot of the power or anything like that. What he is doing is he's getting a lot of hits, and he's doing it consistently. So he's got 3 All-Star games, a couple of Silver Sluggers, 3 batting titles. So just like last week when we looked at Matt Olson and Pete Alonso, the wins above replacement are going to be tough, but if you get to 500 home runs, it's going to be really tough to ignore these guys. In that same vein, Luis Arraez is on a interesting path. If you look at Rod Carew, had just over 3,000 hits. He's tracking pretty well against that, and so if he comes up, short in the wins above replacement department, but he has 7 All-Star games, and he's got 5 or 6 batting titles, and he's got 3,000 hits, then he's going to be really, really tough to ignore. So he's got a path like those other guys, but it is narrow, and let's just see how well he ages. But sure not gonna discount the talent. That's for darn sure. All right, Ozzie Albies. He missed this season. He was hurt, and he's had some injuries the past few years off and on. So see if he can figure that out when he plays. He's terrific. When he's hurt, well, then that's what throws these guys off the path. Again, you have to be good, but you have to be good for a really, really long time. And we'll see if he can get that back. So he's only 27 years old, just entering his prime. So he should be able to put up some numbers if he remains healthy here. Roughly 20 wins above replacement to his name. He needs to average just under 5, so he hits our cutoff here. 60 to get to 60 wins by age 35. 108 weighted runs created, so pretty good bat at second base here. There's a couple of Silver Sluggers, 3 All-Star games. His Jaws, it's kind of irrelevant yet. You need to have 7 years worth of Jaws before you can start to pick off your best years here, and then you'll as you get better or put up monster years, that'll drop off the lower ones and help that number here. So again, tracking pretty well here. For him, it's about health because everything else is lining up pretty well here. Xander Bogaerts is another one. He was a shortstop, but he moved over to second base this year. I don't know what to do with those guys. That they change positions going forward. So we'll just compare them at the shortstop. There's not that much difference between short and second, but surprisingly the path is a little bit easier at shortstop if you look at the Jaws number there. So he's tracking very, very well. He was hurt this season. Not a great time to do that at age 31. You're getting to the tail end of your peak here, but gosh, he's doing everything right up to that point here. He's doing well with the shortstop. He's tracking pretty well with the second baseman. So again, I'm not sure which way to go on that one, but since he's a second baseman now. We'll just throw him in here with these guys because second base is a little bit lighter than shortstop. So 40 wins above replacement. Needs to average 4.8 wins on an annual basis to get that 60 by 35. 116 weighted runs created. Again, 5 Silver Sluggers. He's a terrific bat. 4 All-Star games. Top 5 MVP. Very close to that Jaws 7. If you can get a couple more years and drop off some of those lower numbers, then that's the shortstop addition. So again, second base is about a WAR higher, but again, close enough. But yeah, tracking and the next couple of years, stay healthy. He had 6-win season just a couple of years ago, so he's certainly capable of this trend. And so again, it's largely health with him. So we'll see if we can't get back on track here. So Andres Jimenez tracking very well in this young career here. Jaws thing, it's largely irrelevant right now. Again, if you don't have 7 years, then those zeros are going to be kind of a big deal. They're going to loom large, but. He's got a 6-win season, and then he's kind of settling at that 3 or 4 win player. If he can get a couple more 5 or 6, All-Star level seasons, then he'll be all right. So he's got an All-Star game, 3 Gold Gloves and a Platinum Glove, 14 Fangraphs WAR, needs to average 4.5 because he came up early and he's producing, and that's a big deal here. So 103 weighted runs created. So we want to see him continue to be kind of that 4 or 5 win player with All-Star games, with Gold Gloves, and be that defensive definition of a second baseman over the years here. So he's doing what he can right now, tracking pretty well. So again, fairly decent level target. And we'll wrap it up with Jose Altuve. So it's yes, I get it, the buzzer thing, whatever. I don't think that's going to matter by the time it's he's getting in. Beltran looks like he might be getting in the next year or two here, and that would really open the door for a lot of these guys here. So 34 years old. 48 Fangraphs WAR, 52 Baseball Reference WAR. Needs to average just 2.5 wins above replacement over the next couple of years to get to that 60 by 35. So what tells me is that number's not right at all. Anyways. All right, magic of editing. So 58 wins above replacement. Hit a wrong number there. Magic, again, if you call me a liar, I'll whatever. So there it is. It's in the tape. I screwed up. There it is. But I fixed it for you. I saw that the math didn't quite work. Yes, all right. He's very, very close. 2,200 hits. He's got his 2,000 hits. 130 weighted runs created. Terrific player. He seems to be aging just fine here. He's well on track. MVP, 3 top 5 MVPs, 9 All-Star games, 7 Silver Sluggers, whatever. 39 Jaws. It's very close, but all this considered, yeah, that's enough to get him in. The buzzer thing. Let's just see if the voters are able to forgive that. I believe they will. I think Beltran will open those floodgates, and we should be good to go on Altuve. So yeah, no, that's one of your better players of your best player of the generation at that position. So all right, that's what I got for you. Hey, look at that. So I'm still making mistakes, but at least I catch them on time. No, that's a pretty good deal. So anyways, appreciate you watching, and we'll get back at you soon with some third baseman. Have a great couple of days, and we'll talk to you soon.